Hi, for completeness sake, I'm going to include one game from this 8th round of the GRENKE Chess Classic. Unfortunately, we did not have a decisive game today, and most of them were rather uneventful, very clear and short draws in a way. But Magnus, he really tried. He had the white pieces against Vitiugov, and this was his last game with white, so he had to give it a go. And let's see the game. He had the white pieces, went for e4, and we had the Ruy Lopez mainline, bishop a4, and Magnus goes for d3 here, sort of an anti-martial system. b5, bishop b3, and we see more or less normal development, castles, rook e8, rook e1. We've seen this before already here. In this, well, in several videos. As always, this is the route that the knight is going to take now. Knight b to d2, bishop to b6, and there's sort of close resemblance with the Italian game here. Knight to g3, no h3. He's not afraid of bishop to g4. Bishop to e6 is what black wants to do. And now h3. Knight e5 is perhaps more normal than bishop to e6, but not a lot of difference. h3 was played now, which, okay, I mean, the bishop just went to e6, so is there anything coming to g4? I don't know, but the game continued. Bishop takes b3, pawn takes b3, capture towards the center. Carlsen likes to do that. So this opens up the a file for the rook, and this double pawn isn't really a big problem. d5, queen to e2, avoiding the queen trade for now if black takes on e4. Bishop to c5. I guess black figures that he doesn't want to get stuck with the bishop here. He wants to have a little bit more scope defensively with the bishop, and with white eyeing a knight jump to f5, a bishop on f8. This usually ideally placed against such a venture. b4, the bishop goes to f8, and now knight to d2. Yeah, it's a question where this knight is going. In some cases you could maneuver it here and go here maybe. Maybe these squares as well, but none of that comes to fruition. In this game, a5 by black, voluntarily getting rid of the white double pawn on b file, but also getting rid of the black target on a6, also exchanging one pair of rooks. So black is must be equal here, at least around equal. So more exchanges, and the only thing white can really claim is a small nibble here. You know, you get the knight to f5, and the white knight is slightly better than its counterpart. Magnus avoided the trade here, queen to e6, and now knight to f5. And for now you can't go g6 because of the pawn that will hang here on h6. So first Vitiugov fixes the knight, knight to c4, h4, and the plan is to put the pawn here on h5, try to cement this knight here on f5, king h7, h5. Black was threatening to play g6, but it does it anyway. Okay, this kicks the knight, but after knight e3 we have a trade, and Magnus flicks in h takes g6. Vitiugov took with the f pawn, and bishop takes e3. So white has probably improved a little bit. The main feature is that he has a better pawn structure. Black has a 1, a 2, and a 3 pawn islands, while white has this 1 and 2. So slightly better pawn structure. We can claim that this is perhaps a little bit weak. And the black bishop, as you can see here, it's sort of a defensive piece, while this guy, you know, has some scope at least. But it's really difficult to find something to attack, and Vitiugov decides to defend here with queen to c4, offering white the trade, which Magnus accepted. So now we have these double pawns on the c file, but they're pretty difficult to attack. Rook a1, rook to b8, and now we want this rook free to attack the c pawn and well, whatever target that may arise. So bishop to c1 to protect the b2 pawn. But it's really difficult, because we often talk about that you need sort of two weaknesses to win a chess game, and if this is a weakness, it's fairly easily protected, as we see rook a4, rook c6. So it's one weakness. This rook remains passive, but it's really difficult for white to take advantage of it. But Carlsen kept on trying. I mean, he has something. It's a small nibble. It is something. But Vitiugov defended quite well here. He played h5, king f1, and perhaps if he had defended passively, Carlsen would have found something. But yeah, I know that Lekko and Gustafsson in the broadcast, they applauded this maneuver here of the bishop to h4. And the idea is that in the future you can get the bishop to f4, and that's really helpful. In some cases, rook a5, bishop to g3. So now you're protecting this pawn, and you're keeping an eye on, you know, avenues to activate the bishop on f4. Bishop to c5, and now g5 by Vitiugov. This is pretty nice. Okay, this could be a weakness, but he's also creating some counterplay. G4. Now white kind of has to take, because otherwise black will take on f3. This will create a weakness for white, and also a passed pawn for black that he will be really happy with, so white has to take. So this is in some cases a target, but now this bishop has become active, like I mentioned, this f4 square, and this gives black the counterplay he needs in many lines. Rook a8, king f7, otherwise white might have thought about capturing this pawn, but now the king is covering g8, rook to c8. Okay, keeping black passive, but there's no real way to improve here. Bishop to f4. Although Carlsen keeps on trying. His persistence in the endgames is remarkable. And here this bishop is absolute key, because without it white would have bishop a5, and maybe he's winning this pawn. But with the bishop on f4, this threat here of rook to d6 to d2 is absolutely vital for black, when he would get the counterplay he needs in capturing this pawn, and then this pawn provides enough counterplay. So Carlsen goes for a maneuver here of the king. Now he goes over to the king side. Okay, some in-between moves here, rook d8, rook c8 or rook d8. Okay, on c8 it attacks the c7 pawn, but on d8 it's ready to take here if the rook moves. King f7, king to f2, and some back and forth by Vitiugov. And now finally g3 by Carlsen. So he always finds ways to improve his position. Now the bishop has to move. It would like to stay on this diagonal, and it will. Rook d1, a cool trap. If you take on b2, there's simply rook to b1, and this bishop on b2 would not have a square, so he retreated the bishop to g5. Now king to e2, king e6, and Carlsen tries to maneuver the rook back into the black position. Rook to h1. Still no entry for the black rook. Rook a6, bishop a3. I'm wondering if this is necessary. I doubt that rook a2 is a threat in any position, but okay, he blocks the rook from coming in either to a2 or a1. Rook to b6 back. Rook enters on h7. And now rook b7. Passive looking move, but okay, if the rook is only attacking this, then maybe it's okay that you have a passive rook while it's defending the pawn. So you will just change its role once the white rook moves. So king d1. Carlsen wants the king back on the queen side, protecting this pawn. And in some extreme cases, I think the dream is to get around to this pawn, but that's very hard to execute. Now rook to d8. So Carlsen allows him to penetrate here. He could play maybe rook h2, but then he's not making any progress himself. So he went for rook g7. And here Vitiugov entered with rook to d2. And now, brave move, king to c1. This looks quite dangerous, what's going on here. Well, the key is that the rook is attacking the bishop. So there's no discovered attack because we simply take the rook. But here, Vitiugov played bishop to f6. And this was a nice find. If he plays, well, bishop e3 is probably also possible. But then I think we take on g4. And there doesn't seem to be a dangerous discovery. And white is probably happy. So bishop f6 was a nice find. And here Carlsen took on d2. Funnily enough, if he takes on g4, this rook is actually trapped. You can't really win it, but rook d8, and it turns out the rook, okay, doesn't have a square. This is covered by the bishop. And if we go here, there's king f7. Okay, rook h6, rook here. I guess we can start with actually rook h8 and then king f7. I don't see any way for white to improve here. The king comes to f7 next. Let's say bishop move or something, king here. And the rook is actually just trapped here. Fortunately for white, black can't make any progress in that case. But, so I think this will be drawn. But Carlsen didn't want to, he didn't find any way forward there, so he took the rook on d2. And now it's very much completely drawn, king d7, bishop e3. And as you can see, there's no way for the white king forward. He's blocked here. He's not going to reach anything here. So the only way is through the queen side. The draw was actually agreed here. And let's say king c6 and king b5. And you're not going to make any headway into the black position here. So a clear draw, and that was agreed. So yeah, this might have been the last chance for Carlsen in this tournament, because now he has to defeat Viswanathan Anand with the black pieces. Meanwhile, Vitiugov, he has done quite well in this tournament, and he actually has a chance to quote-unquote steal the thunder, because he has the white pieces against Fabiano Caruana in the last round. So hoping for exciting chess in the last round. You know, Vitiugov Caruana will be something to look out for. And okay, if Vitiugov can't manage to win there, then that opens up the window for Carlsen. Well, in either case, unless Caruana wins, of course, then the tournament is over. So 2 games to keep an eye on tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully I'll see you tomorrow with two good games to look at. See you. Bye bye. Tomorrow is a critical round. Yes, okay.